Nervous?
Yes.
First time.
No, I've been nervous lots of times.
Live from the basement of the YouTube headquarters, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Duggan. Does our opening theme remind you of The Tonight Show? Well, if it does, you're in luck because today, just like Fallon and the gang, we're talking to some top guests, including the guy behind the Best Interest podcast, Jesse Cramer. And the woman who's hoping that someday she can afford everything, but right now can just afford anything, it's Paula Pant. And the man who's never been more excited, that it's Friday, it's OG. And what are they talking about, you ask? We'll be diving into the topic of accountability. You're on your own, says one famous blogger, and we'll ask what that statement really means. But that's not all, of course. We'll also continue our year-long money trivia contest with our contributors. And now a guy who'd be just like Jimmy Fallon if he found a way to become handsome and grow hair and learn to sing, maybe dance a little bit.
Be funny.
Do a couple of impersonations. Should I keep going?
No.
It's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Hey, Stackers. Welcome to the Doug is Fire podcast. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy. And man, we got a great show for you today. Doug, how are you enjoying your last show? Is it fun?
It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Now I can say anything I want. I'm already canned.
The chains are off. He's considering the rest of this podcast to be the exit interview. It's exactly where it goes. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Well, I got to tell you guys what we're thinking. We're thinking we got a great show for you today. Let's meet the players. Mr. OG is playing today with us. How are you, my friend?
Super awesome. Thank you for asking. Day off for me today, so I'm just back here helping you guys. I should be
working on your day off, doing God's work.
That's I understand it to be double time, so just make sure we're clear about that. Come payroll time, I'm happy to be.
Yes. And the woman who's always double timing, but never running, maybe walking fast. Paula Pant is here.
Yeah, that does. So what's double of zero?
Easy, cowboy.
Easy.
It's two times zero. But you're right. I am never running. I am not a runner. I am opposed to running. But I do walk. I set the treadmill at like 2.6 miles per hour, sometimes 2.7 miles per hour.
If you're getting crazy.
Exactly. But
slow down.
Exactly. But yeah, hey, I'm 5'1". I've got like a short stride, but I will then put the treadmill up at like, a 12% grade. So
wow,
yeah, doing well.
Walking uphill.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Nepalese mountain climber I am.
That's perfect with zero elevation.
Yeah, exactly. Right at sea level.
Yeah. That's fabulous. Now, Paula, if there were, how contentious this election, like every election is, right? If you were, I think if somebody would come out against running, you would become a one-issue voter.
Ooh. Well, I mean, I do think that people should have the freedom to run if they so choose. I just don't understand why anyone would choose it.
What kind of sicko they might be.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, if you want to, Benjamin Franklin wanted to protect that right. And the guy who is ready for winter to come because it's the end of September, Jesse Cramer's here. You're way up there, way north, Jesse. Is it snowing yet? Let's get the weather report.
It's not snowing yet, at least not that I can tell, but it could snow soon. October snow is not out of the question here in Rochester. And I just wanted to comment, I really like how in most places in this world, if you get let go of an employer, you are walked out, you are no longer allowed to make decisions. But here on Stacking Benjamins, we just give Doug a microphone. Like, say whatever you want.
Our HR department may be a little lax, Jesse.
It's a great policy.
Maybe slightly lax. Well, we're not going to be lax about this. You know who sponsors this show, Jesse?
I'm excited to find out. Is it State Farm today?
It is State Farm.
Yes.
They're so good to us, Jesse.
Did I cheat to get that right?
You might have showed up at the last recording. This episode brought to you by State Farm. If you're a small business owner, it isn't just your business, it's your life. Whatever your business might be, whether it's cheating or whatever it might be, you want somebody who understands. And that's where State Farm Small Business Insurance comes in. State Farm agents, they're small business owners too, and know what it takes to help you personalize your policies for your small business needs. You guys ready? Everybody ready to do this with me?
Let's do it.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Yeah, that's great. Paula, they're gonna kick us out soon. Talk to your local agent today. Well, we've got a great show. Today's show actually is meant to kind of put, there's the carrot and the stick. I think today's episode is a little bit of the stick because I found this. Oh, geez, so excited.
OG hates carrots.
It's about time. Bring the wood.
We've done almost 1,700 episodes, and finally one OG's down with.
Or we're finally going to see him in months.
Going to share the negativity. But this comes to us from a blog called Abnormal Returns, and it's the Ritholtz gang of bloggers, and they've got a message that maybe we all need to hear. It's kind of a little Dr. Phil day on the Stacking Benjamin show. How's that working out for you? But before we do that, State Farm's not the only sponsor we have. We have a couple more that make it free. Let's hear from them today, and we're going to get this started. We got Jesse Cramer here. OG's here and fired up. And Paula Pant is here along with Doug doing his last show. Let's get on it. As I mentioned, this piece that's the inspiration for today's chat comes to us from the Abnormal Returns blog, abnormalreturns.com. And it is written by Tadas Visconta, who's the director of investor education at Ritholtz. Let's dive into what he says, because the name of this piece is You Are on Your Own. And he says, the rise of the degenerate economy is obvious to everyone now. As Howard Lindzen writes, quote, the degenerate economy is definitely bleak, but it's not going away. The bottom line is no one's coming to save you from blowing up your financial life, not even the SEC. Then he goes on this little mini rant where he talks about writer Robin Wigglesworth, who was on the show. Robin, when he was on our podcast, was talking about the surprising fact that no, it wasn't John Bogle who created the index fund. John Bogle was actually against the first index fund. It was a bunch of other people. And we'll link to that episode in the show notes back from October of 2021 when he was on. But Robin was talking about there was just approved a leveraged long MicroStrategy ETF, ticker symbol NSTX. And Robin bemoaned the fact that this is a product that is going to make, guess how many people money, OG? Guess how many people it's going to make money?
One or two. Basically, whoever owns it and whoever manages it and gets paid for it.
Whoever the creators of the fund are.
The salespeople, they'll get rich.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody on the creation team makes money. Anybody who buys this garbage is out money. And yet the SEC OG does nothing. He complains. Does this surprise you?
Well, no, the SEC doesn't exist to prevent you from doing anything dumb. They exist to make sure that everybody's following the same rules and regulations. There's no rule that says that they have to stop what they decide to be a bad investment. Because honestly, if there's a market for garbage, then it actually serves a purpose, right? Even if it's detrimental to the people who might be investing in it, the economy, the capital market has said, we'll take this stuff. It's like any other free market thing. It's like if you want to sell your house for $1 million, but it's worth 500, nobody's going to buy it. But if you want to sell it for $1 million and it's worth 2 million, you have a whole long line of people that want to do it. Let the economy decide where the money should flow. This product is needed, it's priced correctly, and it performs the way it should. It'll attract it'll attract money and it will prosper. If it's a piece of crap and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do and it costs too much and so on and so forth, then it'll cease to exist. It's not the SEC's job to say this company could be successful and this company cannot. We just to make sure everybody's disclosing everything correctly so that you can make an intelligent decision as an investor.
Do you agree with that point of view, Jesse, that this is just capitalism at work?
I mean, I agree with what OG said, but we're going to go down an interesting conversational path today, which is a little bit political or a little bit social in nature, socioeconomic in nature, where, my mind immediately jumped to the idea that as a society, we've decided that heroin and methamphetamine are very illegal, that tobacco and alcohol are allowed, but with some restrictions, but that you can eat all the sugar you want. I could sit here and make arguments that all those things are unhealthy for you. And, so someone could make an argument and say we should restrict all of them. Another person should make an argument and say, let people take whatever sort of substances they want. And this conversation is going to be similar in nature, just financial in nature, which is to say, well, should any sort of financial instrument anywhere on earth be legal? Does the government have a role in protecting us, or who in the government decides what needs to be protected against? And that's where you kind of get this slippery slope or this gray area that I think should be a fun conversation because of that.
Yeah. Paula, where do you come down there?
The more interventionist a government is, the more opportunity there is for lobbying and special interests to take hold and sway those interventionist policies. I'm not sure that a group of bureaucrats are the best decision makers when it comes to assessing the quality of either nutrition or investments. And so to that end, it seems that the so long as there are sufficient disclosures, so long as there is sufficient transparency, it is ultimately the free market and the end user that should decide.
Based on what you just said, when Jesse talks about, compares it to other types of products, you're saying if you let it be legal, like whatever it is, let it be legal and buyer beware.
Yeah, exactly. I think transparency is important. Disclosure is important because that is how people become informed consumers and make informed decisions. Beyond that, you have the information. It's up to you to make the decision.
I think there is a misconception, Jesse, about what the SEC does. I know I've seen online forums. I'm sure you've seen online forums. I can't believe the government doesn't do anything about this. And yet when you take what OG and what Paula just said and what you just said, that's not really the SEC's job. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize, hey, nobody's coming to help you. Like, don't blame the SEC if you get stuck in this stuff, this garbage, this, what's it called, MSTX or whatever the other piece of garbage is. That's on you.
Yeah, I mean, is it outright fraud? Like the SEC, part of the SEC's job is to preventing an outright fraud or like things that are purely predatory in nature. But OG's right to some extent, which is in this case, I mean, I haven't looked to this specific ETF. And just so we're clear, I mean, in case any listeners are confused, this is an ETF. If my understanding is correct, and I'm actually looking to you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, this ETF holds one single stock, MicroStrategies, in a levered fashion. So you're kind of doubling down your bets. And you say, well, why do you need to do that? And the answer is because some investors out there want higher octane exposure to this one company, MicroStrategy. And a lot of MicroStrategy's valuation is tied to Bitcoin, if you didn't know. So it's like kind of this weird Bitcoin cryptocurrency play. And as long as investors are aware of that from the SEC's point of view, as long as you know what you're getting into, go ahead and get into it. And again, it kind of comes down to this conversation, and it's the difference between what's legal or what's ethical or moral. I don't know where I come down on it, but for the same reason why some people look at Las Vegas and say that gambling is immoral and we shouldn't have it legalized, that's probably the same reason why some people might come down on this and say, well, this leveraged ETF, it's just stupid and you have to look out for yourself. You're on your own.
It is amazing, OG, to Jesse's point, the author here starts to go into gambling, right? And how a lot of investors aren't investing, they're gambling. Heck, last Friday, Paula, you were sharing that during the COVID time, like everybody else, you put some money in the account and, hey, because of boredom, I'm going to not invest. I'm going to gamble stocks and do some meme stock fun.
Yep.
And he quotes this man, Alex Kirshner at Slate. And the quote is, there's a certain old fashioned spirit of competition in a regular sports bet, but the founding fathers of betting, whoever they were, did not envision you throwing away your car payment on an 8-leg parlay hinged on several Conference USA basketball games. They did not imagine you'd be able to do it in 30 seconds from your phone with any prompts asking you to maybe think about it for a second. Like, OG, It's amazing how there's no backstop now. You could blow more money than you ever had on DraftKings in 30 seconds, your entire paycheck and more, and there's no backstop at all.
Well, yes. And I know that there's different states have different rules. And so they're leaving it at the state level. Texas, of course, doesn't allow any of that. So if you try to log into DraftKings or whatever your, interesting app du jour is, it's not going to work.
That's why VPN sales are through the roof in Texas.
You can't even do it with a VPN. Don't ask me how I know. But I'm just saying, but I do know that on some of the casino apps, they do have things that will pop up after a while. Be like, hey, so you've been spinning this wheel for about an hour and a half. Maybe you want to take a break, where they don't do that in person. So at least on the app, they can kind of pre-program those alerts to alert you. But yeah, exactly right. Like who's the judge, jury, and executioner of you deciding whether or not you get to spend your money in any way you decide to do it, right? Short of being completely illegal. And I guess, there's that big, broad brushstroke that Paula said of like, well, who gets to decide that? A bunch of politicians. I liked what Paula said about, as long as the disclosure is there. And I was thinking back on like the tobacco industry, right? And how for how many years it was like, oh, it's totally fine. Your doctor prescribed smoking for health reasons and how silly that sounds. But the issue wasn't that people didn't know that it was bad for them, because undoubtedly, it doesn't make any logical sense to most people that inhaling a bunch of smoke into your lungs would be healthy. But there was the problem was that all of the politicians were bought out, or a lot of them were, and all of the information associated with it about exactly how bad it was kept on getting buried more and more, and very hard to get out into the public, whether it was from the lobbyists or whatever. So I think, and you're seeing this with using smoking as an example, you're seeing this with like vaping, right? Like what was the story with vaping for the first X number of years it was around? It's just water vapors. Like, wait a second. That doesn't sound healthy either. I'm not a fish. I don't think I'm supposed to inhale water. It's like, but why do I feel different if I, smoke a vape thing or whatever it is? Like, well, it's all the chemicals. Like, right. So how did they get in there? It's just water vapors. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, okay, that's not healthy either. It's like, really? I mean, it seems like they condensed the time frame from how long it took the public to get around to that. As long as you have the opportunity to have the information, if you know that this is a fair game of poker, or that this is a fair game at the casino, as fair as you can make a casino game, or it's a fair game in the stock market, why do I have to have somebody say, well, listen, I don't think you're in a good enough spot to be able to handle this right now, so we're not going to let you do it. I mean, if it's a fair thing, I should be able to do it. It's my money.
But the author does bring up the speed at which we can make bad decisions has definitely increased. Like the rapidity of these bad decisions. It is funny that, we talked about blowing your budget. We would talk about, for maybe the first 7 or 8 years of this podcast, it was going to restaurants, right? If you go to a restaurant on a random Tuesday and you just don't care, you're just doing it because you're a little lazy, that's kind of stupid. And you're just blowing cash. And like contributor Greg McFarland used to say, if you order alcohol, just because you're out at this random dinner and you don't care, you're wasting
just drink it at home. Am I right, Doug?
Perfect. Absolutely. Just get the alcohol in you at home ahead of time, pregame at the very least. But think about the discussions we've had lately on this show. Are we wasting money on DoorDash? Right? We're having the restaurant and having it come to us, and I can do that on my phone. I'm not having the neighbor take me to the airport. I'm using Uber to take me to the airport. I'm not buying anything. I'm renting all my stuff. I can do all this from my phone.
Yeah, but all those things have served an economic purpose and are viable solutions to problems, right? For every person that says Uber sucks, there's a bunch of people who are like, this is a godsend because now I have a bunch of transportation options, where in my town I had one taxi guy, and now I have 20 Uber drivers who can help me get around and do the things that I couldn't do before. So it's definitely served a purpose.
Right.
And again, same thing with DoorDash. So who is it to say, Joe, look, I know your money situation. you probably should just eat at home today.
For the person, wait a minute though, but for the person who is broke or the person who's just coming out of college and just starting off, Paula, it's easier than ever to get yourself into trouble.
Yes, but it's also easier than ever to get yourself to earn money, to get yourself up the ladder. It's now easier than ever. It used to be before the internet in the 1980s and the 1990s. If you wanted a side hustle, you would have to go to a brick and mortar establishment and take a second job. Now it's easier than ever to make money from your phone. So it's easier than ever in both directions.
Like gambling.
That's how you do it fastest.
I know.
The fastest. Well, Jesse, it's funny when I first read the header of this piece, you are on your own. I'm like, oh, this is generic. And I wasn't even going to open it. And then I saw who was writing it. And I'm like, okay, these guys established group. He's an established writer. I start reading it. It's obviously a very interesting topic. But truly, Jesse, to Paula's point, you got to decide for yourself which team you're going to play on.
No one's looking out for you, Joe. And I mean, I don't know. I don't mind taking the other side of this conversation to some extent. I'm happy to go back and forth a little bit, only because
here we go.
I think state, and this, I'm stealing some words from the late great Charlie Munger here. State-sponsored lotteries are disgusting and contrary to the interest of civilization. Sports gambling, like all gambling, is a tax on ignorance. I don't think they actually add anything to society. And so again, I don't know whether it's the government's job to tell us how we can or can't spend our money. In that case, I'm willing to listen to other thoughts. But yeah, I mean, I personally think the lottery and sports gambling are not adding anything to society. I think we'd all be better off if someone came in and got rid of them. I don't think that we need to, in the spirit of free market, allow a for-profit gambling company to create an unbelievably addictive app to to send out to, like you alluded to, Joe, to people who are fresh out of college or just off on their own. And it's susceptible to, we're all human. We all fall for addictions in the same kind of way or ways. And yeah, I just don't think it's a net positive for society. And I think it's okay to look at things that way, not from the individual point of view, but from the society point of view, and just say, is this a good thing for us to have or not?
Anybody? But he's just going to let it go.
Damn, hot take.
I know. That was apparently, Jesse, you dropped the mic because nobody wants the other side of that one. Let's take
Well, they're
that.
definitely bad. I was just gonna. I'll bite. I mean, the Dave what does Dave Ramsey say about lotteries? It's a tax on poor people.
Well, I've heard, was it gambling or lotteries? I don't know who said it, but tax on people who are bad at math.
Bad at math. Yeah, it's a tax on ignorance.
Well, yeah. Seth Godin in this piece, they quote Seth Godin, who, by the way, is going to be on the show in about a month.
Awesome.
Seth writes, someone's going to win the lottery, but it probably won't be us, which is another point.
Yeah, if I buy the Mega Millions today, there's a chance. Right?
You're saying I got a chance?
You're telling me I got a chance? I mean,
somebody got to win it.
Now, I don't know these numbers for a fact, Jesse, but I see the advertisements, so maybe it's true, or maybe it's partially true, or maybe it's not true at all. But in Texas, I see the thing that says, you should play Mega Millions because last year it generated $6 billion for Texas schools. Because
generated from what?
Well, I'm guessing from the people who paid. Half the money went to the winners, and half the money went to the, it's a tax, like you said. So, I mean, there is some transfer that's happening, right? Where it's going to allegedly schools. I don't know if that's true or not.
If we wanted to generate $6 billion for schools, I think there's a more efficient and equitable way would be my counter argument. I'm just saying, the money's coming from people who maybe they just want to entertain themselves, which that's one thing, but some of these people, their only hope to get out of their circumstance is to hope to win the lottery. And we know that's a losing bet, quite literally, right. Or they just simply don't understand the math of it all. That's a losing bet. I mean, I think if we need to raise money for schools, which is a thing to do, I think there's a better way of doing it than running a lottery.
Oh, undoubtedly. I'm not suggesting that this is the best solution.
Yeah,
but,
I get it.
I'm trying to put a little lipstick on the pig.
That's fair. That's fair.
Regardless of the ultimate social outcome, it seems authoritarian and patronizing to tell others how to spend their own money. In the same way that we wouldn't, time is money, and we can't tell people how to spend their time. If people want to be unemployed and sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch Netflix marathons, they're free to do so for as long as they can find a way to pay whatever bills they may have, right? You can't tell people how to spend their time. Likewise, time is money. You can't tell people how to spend their money. And people will make decisions about both time and money as necessity pertains.
I mean, the same thing is true, Paula, right? For somebody who's wildly successful, saves a bunch of money, and leaves their lucrative, high productive career at 45.
Right.
And you go like, well, why are you leaving right now? You've got so much to give. And it's like, well, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
You can't make me work.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm happy and content where I am, so where's the line drawn on somebody saying this is good for you or this is not? Because forcing me to, or restricting me from doing one thing is the same as saying, well, you're 45, you're a great doctor. I mean, you can't quit yet. We need good doctors. We need you to come to work for the next 15 years.
Right.
You're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's authoritarian to try to be the dictator of that.
It is interesting, though, because, you think about the lottery system, to go back to the lottery analogy, then how come we don't let individuals run their own lotteries, right? Individual people run their lotteries. And by the way,
lobbyists.
We used to, and the lotteries were incredibly predatory. And so they made them state governed so that we had some box on it. So it's funny how this does come down to partially some arbitrary lines. I don't want to stop there.
Yeah. I would also add to that real quick, Joe, you mentioned a lot of it. As soon as you said this about predatory, I thought about like the payday loans, right? That's been really reined in over the years. And it's like, again, at some a little counterpoint, I suppose, but at some level, somebody has to step in and go like, dude, you can't charge somebody 3,000% interest. Like, we get it. You're lending somebody some money. It's a risk and so on and so forth, but you have to have some sort of cap. And states have come in, or banking rules have come in and said, this is the maximum. Like, why did they pick that number as the maximum and not 1% higher? I don't know. Somebody somewhere said, I'm the expert at this. And supposedly self-appointed expert, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the last part, I agree with OG, which is like, where do you draw the line and why do you draw the line there? But I do think it's interesting that there are some issues where we as a society have said, no, we're not going to allow one group of people to take advantage of another group of people, right? We're not going to allow loan sharks to take advantage of people who need payday loans. So in that case, the legal philosophers out there said we're drawing the line. And in other cases, maybe they shouldn't. But going back to the whole authoritarianism, or, is it authoritarian to say, I want to live in a society where people aren't taken advantage of by their lack of math skills? I don't know. Do I want to, the state of New York tells me that I can only drive home at 65 miles an hour. Are they infringing upon my liberties? I don't think so. I think there's a good reason why that law is in place. And again, I'm kind of going away from the whole personal finance podcast. You can kick me off anytime you want, but
God, you and Doug leaving on the same episode.
Yeah, careful. He's in the mood today, Jesse. Don't tempt him.
I think it's a really cool conversation, actually. I think we should have, as a society, more conversations where we all kind of look at each other and be like, why are the rules the way they are? Respectfully, why are the rules the way they are? So I'm really enjoying this.
This goes back to when John Hope Bryant was on the show, because, his big point is there are very few ills of society that don't get solved when the poorest zip codes out there get their credit scores raised. Like, if we help them, and often it's a matter of math skills and not getting the memo and not understanding how wealth building works. And so protecting those people, it is an interesting conundrum that I'm sure we're going to solve in the next half hour. I'm very certain we're going to solve all of this in 30 minutes, but we are going to take a break right now before I'm going to, and by the way, when I come back to this, I want to talk about social media, because when we say that you're on your own, oh man, some of the great sounding garbage that's on social media is just incredible. I'm going to play one for you. But at the halfway point of every Friday show, we have this year-long competition between our frequent contributors, Paula Pant, OG, and Mom, who lately has been presented not very well, she said lately, by the way, by Jesse. She liked it better, Jesse, when you cheated. But, maybe we got to go.
First he cheats, and then he brings on his dumb politics onto the show. Here he is.
She's just saying she liked you better when you nailed the answer. That's all she said. But anyway, we have a score, and Jesse, well, it's not looking that great, bud. It's looking good for somebody, but it's not you and it's not Paula. OG last week increased his lead. He has 14. Mom, a.k.a. Jesse, has 10. And Paula has 8. Paula, I think if you're going to win, I think you got to get going this week, sister.
Woo. All right.
It's the time.
This is the decision maker for the 2024 outcome.
Well, I don't know if it is, but near the end of the season when they're like, if they don't win today,
right,
we're getting close to that spot. But I'd love to see a Paula Pant run starting today. But Doug has the question. Doug, what are we focused on this fine Friday?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today's a big day in money-making history for tonight. You know what I'm saying, of course. Tonight is what we're all about today. Well, that doesn't make any sense either. What I'm trying to say is that tonight first came online on what day? On this day, or tonight. How about what year? Yeah, that's it. What year today was tonight first tonight? Nothing. I mean, you get what I'm trying to say, right?
I got it.
Right,
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Let's. I'm going to try it this way.
Here's Dougie.
Here we go. To clarify, what year did the show called Tonight, later to become The Tonight Show, first air? Yes, that's it. I got it. I nailed it. That's better, right? We'll do it one more time. What year did the show called Tonight, later to become The Tonight Show, first air on today's date? Tonight, like years ago. I'll be back with the answer as soon as I practice saying, here's Joey.
That's got a ring to it.
I don't know.
That's perfect. That's great. We should start every show with that. All right. OG, you are going first. The Tonight Show debuted on today's day in history. What year?
Well, I'm old enough to remember that there was a point in time when TV would stop. I don't think Jesse or Paula would know that, but they played the national anthem and then everything went off.
It's also because you grew up in the sticks, and they did that out there back then.
No, I didn't. I grew up in a city.
Wait,
You wake up because they had the national anthem playing, and then there was just fuzz.
And then it went to snow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was always after the
24
Tonight Show.
hours from the
What?
No, wow.
It's incredible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like literally it would be the national anthem and then it would just end. Like then TV was over. So if you're not in bed yet, you better be, because there's nothing to watch until 7 a.m.
Today we're ending our broadcast day at WKBS.
Yeah.
Whatever. This station is blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's just, you'd think they'd play like taps or something.
And then what happened,
colors.
Grandpa?
I know enough old guy stories.
I'm just trying to place like when that could have happened. So Tonight Show, Fallon, the guy before him, car guy, Jay Leno, Jimmy. I don't know. Is Jimmy in there? Is there a Johnny? There's a lot of J's. And I feel like there was more people before Johnny Carson. Obviously. So I'm going to say that you said Tonight, and then it changed to the Tonight Show. I'm going to assume it's kind of one continuous thing that just rebranded it.
It is, yeah.
Not get cute with it. I'm going to say that it started September the 27th in I'm just kidding. 19. I just want to see Paula would say
1462.
in 2000 and let's see, 19 and 1956. I feel like that's a really good number.
1956.
I'm very excited about that number.
Why?
I just feel good. It's like I got a lot of tingle came through me when I said it.
Okay. Jesse?
No tingle over here. Is that the question? So 56, interesting answer. Now, my parents were born in 55 and 58. And just something about seeing their childhood pictures, I just feel like the Tonight Show and that kind of brand of TV wasn't quite there yet. But I also think by like 1970, I'm thinking to myself, like Carson might have started in the early 70s. And I don't think he was the first one either. So I'm going to say a little bit later than Josh. I'm going to say 67.
1967. Paula, what do you think?
That was my second guess.
You got 11 years between those.
Yikes. I mean, the question is, do I guess that it's somewhere in between those years, or do I take the upside? I'm going to take the upside. So, Jesse, your guess was what, 1967?
Yeah, I said 67, but I did mean 1967, not 67 AD. 1967.
All right, I'll take 1968.
1968. That was a fine year. It was a great year for civilization. 1968, maybe the best year.
Is that when you were born?
Of all years. Could have been. Might have been. I was born at some point.
So long ago, wasn't it, Paula?
Easy. 1968, 1967, 1956 on the board. Who is going to take this one home? We'll find out in a second. We'll be right back. OG, you opened up this whole thing at 1956, and I got to say, Jesse and Paula think that you might be a decade off. What are you thinking?
Feeling it. Feeling the flow. Feeling the flow. I'm in the zone.
Just feeling good. That's a little creepy.
The tingle.
Doug?
It was the tingle.
Just feeling his flow. Jesse, you feeling your flow?
I was going to say 48, actually. I was going to say 1948, but then I thought right after World War II, probably not when it happened. Give him a little bit of time after that. That's how I get to the 50s. Like Back to the Future time. Marty McFly.
Yeah, I'm feeling okay, Joe. I'm just doing some math in my head. So what, if it's 62 to 67, that's my sweet spot here. If it's before 62, it goes to OG, I think. So I'm feeling pretty good. Mid 60s. Yeah. There's a chance. There's a chance it could be early 60s.
Right when Joe was born, maybe a smidge earlier.
Right. But then again, right. It could be 68, 69, 70. I'm feeling okay. Not great, but okay.
But Paula, if it was 2011, you're going to win this thing.
Well, I mean, so there was Johnny Carson.
I feel like Carson started in the 70s.
Yeah.
Anybody know this off the top of their head?
Yeah. Johnny Carson was in the 70s. I don't know if there's anybody before Carson. I've never heard of anybody before Carson. So I feel like, when I first heard the question, I thought, probably in the 60s or early 70s. So yeah, I feel decent with 68.
Well, let's find out if Paula's finally got her intuition machine working right. Doug, who's going to win this thing?
Hey there, Stackers. I'm Ed McMahon, fan club president and guy who loves to dance to music by the Roots, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Tonight, later to be called The Tonight Show, has had some iconic hosts. The first was Steve Allen, but probably the most iconic was Johnny Carson, who started... Well, I'm not going to tell you that. Of course, the biggest fiasco in late night centered on The Tonight Show, as well as Conan O'Brien was hired and then replaced by his predecessor, Jay Leno. Man, was that a mess. But this question isn't messy. What year did Tonight debut on today's date in history? Well, I can tell you that Paula was just 14 years off. Jesse was 13 years off. And OG guessing 1956 was just 2 years off. The correct answer is 1954, making the soul-sucking Captain Evil, our very own Sith Lord, today's winner.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
And now back to our ragtag group of misfits and ne'er-do-wells.
Paul, I thought when you said you're taking the over, I'm like, that means 1955, right? Please take 1955. You're taking 1955. Please, God, take 1955. And by the way, when OG first said 1956, Doug, I thought the answer was 1956. And I was like, holy crap, is he cheating too? Like, do we have just
Cheating is contagious.
Nope.
So good. So
I feel like we've had this question before.
I don't think we have.
We never have. We haven't.
Can you be certain? 1,700 episodes?
I can be certain. Paula, Johnny Carson started in 1962. He was on 1962 to 1992, 30 years.
Wow.
And before him was a guy named Jack Parr, I think.
Parr. I think
Yes.
that's right.
And Steve Allen before him.
Wow.
So long history
and
of
TV
that show.
ended? That's the part I still can't get over. TV just ended at a certain
It
point.
just exploded Paula's brain. She couldn't even comprehend the question.
I've never heard of
do
this.
that.
While Paula's head exploding is brought to you by depositaccounts.com. You know what happens when you go to depositaccounts.com, Paula?
You learn that your deposit accounts also end after 11 p.m.
You deposit for as long as you sign up for contractually, but you'll compare more than 275,000 deposit rates from over 11,000 banks and credit unions for free. So check out yours and then check out deposit accounts. Click on savings accounts, CDs, checking, money market, and it's easy to compare, ditch, switch, and save at deposit accounts from Lending Tree.
Paula, you know the light on a refrigerator also goes off when you close the door, right?
That's still true today. Right? TV ending is no longer true, nor has that been true in my lifetime.
I just did a quick Google search, Paula, for you. Apparently, the first all 24-hour broadcast was New York City, Channel 2, in 1982.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was the very first one. So think about into the 90s, you had plenty of smaller stations that were still, you might have stations that are
Like the
signing
last
off
guy out would
today.
just shut it off. He'd be like, all right, that's a wrap, everybody. Pew,
Wow.
flip off the switch. TV was over.
The focus today is nobody's there to save you, and the pace at which you can mess up your money is faster than ever before, is the hypothesis. So we've already talked about gambling on investments, investing in a way that's gambling, some crappy products and oversight. I want to play you something that a member of our basement Facebook group brought to our attention. This is this was presented as, what the government, what the IRS doesn't want you to know. And this comes from Instagram.
Listen to this, you guys. Life insurance is the world's safest industry. There's an account that yields 5 to 6 times more than long-term CDs, has guaranteed returns in most cases, does not have to be reported to the IRS, can be accessed by any time without penalty, lets you retire 100% income tax-free, and yet almost no one knows how wonderful these plans are because the government places tight restrictions on the advertising of these accounts, even though they are 100% legal. Why are they secret? I'll tell you in a moment. The only way to prove that is to own some. Now, why can't we advertise all the greatness of cash value life insurance? You ready? The government places tight controls and restrictions on the advertising on these accounts because they can't make a dime off of them. If we sold cash value life insurance to everybody in America, there would be no tax revenue for these guys to screw up. When the money goes in, it accumulates without current taxation. When you take it out as a retirement benefit, it is paid out tax-free. And when you die, the death benefit is paid tax-free. Let me ask you something. Don't you think you ought to get out there and tell America this right now?
Guys, obviously talking to insurance agents about the miracle of permanent life
He's talking to
insurance.
agents and not consumers.
And people who know us know that you can use there's, by the way, I don't think there's anything he said that's not true, except for his conjecture that that the government doesn't want you to know about it because they can't tax it. Jesse, seems like buyer beware when it comes to what you see even online now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back through and listen to that point by point and see if there were a few of those things made me raise my active eyebrows here. But yeah, I mean, social media is rife with insurance sales pitches or investing sales pitches or just sales pitches of various types. They're everywhere. I get sent them pretty frequently of, Jesse, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Whether it's from a reader, a listener, a client, whoever, like people see these things. A good sales pitch can be very compelling and make you really think to yourself like, oh, maybe there is something here. And it trickles down. And if you don't have anyone to bounce these ideas off of, I could see how someone would chase one of these pipe dreams down a rabbit hole and find themselves in a pretty tough spot.
I mean, online is disguised as advice, not a sales pitch.
Well, right. I mean, a lot of it is. But yeah, it's always good to look into these things and say, who's the speaker and what are their incentives? And again, this is, I think, the second time today I'll bring up Charlie Munger, whose famous simple quote, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes, right? If you understand someone's incentives, you can understand the outcomes that they're looking for. And listen, if someone with no dog in the fight is giving that speech that you just played for us, Joe, okay, that's one thing. If it's an individual who profits from the insurance industry and is speaking to insurance agents about selling more insurance products to people like you and I, well, all of a sudden now it kind of changes the way that we should look at that statement, doesn't it?
Yeah. We've got a lot of hills we just created that people need to battle on, Paula. So let's start on the other side of this. Let's go from the negativity of we can screw this up faster than ever to the positive. Where do we begin? I mean, obviously marketers are after us faster than ever, and they can take our money faster than ever. So if I'm starting to put my financial plan together in 2024 or beyond, what is step one of creating a rock solid plan to not just stave off the types of people we were talking about and stupidity and create a plan?
Well, I'd say the first step is to get educated. Because the more that you know about a given subject matter, the more that you are able to see through marketing spin and make, intelligent assessments of different ideas, different products, different services, different plans.
Where do you start that education? On the Stecky Benjamin Show, probably.
Yeah, you do. You truly do. You listen to podcasts, you read books. What's great about books is that they're, as opposed to things that are published on TikTok, there's a vetting process when it comes to books, assuming the book is traditionally published. And so there's a much more rigorous vetting and editing process before a major publishing house puts that material out for public consumption. And so
what's funny about that, though, those walls, as you know, are also coming down quickly as well.
They are. But there are, the big five publishers, they trade on reputation in a way that some smaller publishers don't. Now, that isn't to say, avoid smaller publishers, because that's where a lot of innovation comes from. But education is reading and listening to a very broad array of voices with a broad array of opinions. And you start to not just hear what they're saying, but unravel why they're saying something. So if you think of an XY axis, right? The horizontal axis is what people think, right? If you think about discourse being along a spectrum, there is the spectrum of what you think. But then that vertical axis, the y-axis, is how you think. And there's lower level thinking that appeals to base, fear, greed. Like it appeals to really base, visceral elements of the human experience. And then there's higher level thinking, where we think in nuance and abstraction. And so as you consume material, you filter not necessarily for what somebody thinks, which exists on that horizontal line, but rather for how they think, which exists on the vertical line. And you'll find thinkers who are in that higher level of the y-axis who might have a broad range of opinions along that x-axis. And that's where you can really start to see how nuanced critical thinkers may disagree on the end subject matter, but they have, what you learn from them is you learn their processes. So you learn that regardless of your opinion about the hypothesis, you learn which scientists have a good fundamental decision-making process.
It's funny, halfway through college, I changed my strategy from taking my electives based on the titles of the courses to instead taking my electives based on the strengths of the teachers, almost exactly what you're talking about,
Right.
because I wanted to see how these great thinkers at Michigan State thought. And it actually, even though the classes were harder, it made education a ton more fun. OG, Paula talked about getting educated, but I said recently at a Camp FI, it isn't about what you know, it's about what you do, right? There's these broke professors out there all around us that have studied and studied and studied, do nothing with it. When it comes to rubber meets the road, what is the thing you do first when you're trying to put together your plan?
I'm still stuck on the great thinker Michigan State content. Just getting
Tons of great thinkers versus that ugly school closer.
Is that
It's just yellow. It's not maize, by the way. I know that we were making fun of Ohio on Monday. And what's the color, Doug? Scarlet? But come on, maize? Really? Maize?
It's a very distinct shade of yellow.
Yeah, my God,
not-
it's yellow.
It's a type of.
Come to East Lansing, the non-pompous part of the state, where we just call it yellow. We call yellow yellow. Our uniforms are green and white. Fight, fight. Anyway, OG, back to you.
Back to me.
Burn a couch, rah rah.
Yeah,
We won a game. Burn a couch. We lost a game. Burn a couch. Like, wait, what? I think the biggest piece when it comes to all of this stuff is the action that you can take, the most logical next thing. I think Tony Robbins is really well known for goal setting and conversations around goal attainment and kind of your mindset thinking about this. And one of the things that he talks about is to never leave the thought of a goal without doing the first logical step, like whatever the next thing is. If you're thinking about, it'd be fun to go to Europe, for a week, or it'd be fun to take the family trip to, I don't know, Peru, or, just making places up. You could like it, you got to order the travel book about Peru or do whatever, right? Like do the next logical thing in the process. You're not going to book a trip to Europe without figuring out what country you want to visit or countries. You got to do the next logical thing. And so when it comes to your financial planning and it's like you're thinking, oh, I should probably do something for retirement. Well, do the next logical thing. Set an appointment with HR people and go, hey, what options do I have here? Or, go on Schwab or Fidelity and open an account and set up $50 going into it so that it's funded. Do the most logical next step. You don't have to get to build full financial plan, buy life insurance, create my estate plan, meet with the CPA. You don't have to do all that stuff. Yeah, eventually those things show up, but do the first best thing, and that will just start the snowball of momentum a little bit.
It's funny. You and I were having a great conversation earlier today off mic on this same topic. We were talking about a good financial planning firm. And you said, OG, that when somebody asked the creator of this firm why they were so successful, he didn't say because we do comprehensive planning, and they do. He didn't say because of the way that we work with our clients successful, because we do. You said what?
Yeah, we just solve whatever problem they need.
Yeah, we solve what they're worried about right then, which is if you're passionate about something right now, go do the thing about that thing. That will lead you to comprehensive, which is, I think, OG, where this firm got with their clients.
Yeah. If you're working on this for yourself, it doesn't matter if it's fitness, if it's health related, if it's money, if it's your taxes, pretty soon we're going to be talking about that. It's like sitting down on a Saturday afternoon with TurboTax and a bunch of PDFs on your computer, or trying to wrangle all those things is a giant pain in the butt. But you can think about it in like little steps and go, well, what's the most logical thing? Oh, I should download all of my tax documents, or hell, make a list of all the places I have money so I know where to go to download all the tax documents. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do your taxes all in one day. When you think about it in January, and that's a goal to get my taxes done, go, first thing I should do is write down where all my money is. Oh, I've got some money at Schwab. I've got money at the bank. I've got money in my 401k. I worked 2 jobs this year, so I should get 2 W-2s. Make a list of that stuff, and now you've just moved a little bit down the field. You're going to be, to your point, more comprehensive because you've taken the small steps and not jump to, I got to show up at the CPA's office with all my stuff. Because that turns into, oh, I forgot this form. I know you filed my taxes already, but I just got this from, I forgot. It's a bigger mess.
Jesse, in this piece, they're talking about all of these problems that, right, we decide to gamble on the lottery, or we decide that we're going to do something, whatever it might be, do something dumb with our money. That doesn't happen when you're fired up about financial planning, because when you're geeked about something, maybe the first month, the first 2 months, the first 3 months, you're going to be great at it. How do you guard against the types of things we talked about today when, it's that normal Tuesday and you're thinking maybe I should go out to dinner?
So I'm sorry, it's a Tuesday. I'm looking to go out to dinner. And what's the question now?
And you've got the DraftKings app in your hand, and you pass the liquor store where it says it's $5 billion today. How do you guard against all that stuff when you're not fired up anymore? It's just a random
ATM withdrawal for the Powerball.
Yeah, you're back to regular life.
Mm-hmm. There's I wish I remembered the exact source of the person who said this, but the idea is that rather than say, in order to say no to something, it helps to have a bigger yes. And the meaning there would be like, okay, rather than if I'm going to say no to pulling out the DraftKings app, or hopefully I'm going to say no to downloading it in the first place, it helps if in the back of my mind I have this bigger overlooming yes, which is that, maybe I want to save up money every month because we're trying to put money down on a down payment on our house. And that's this really big yes that exists somewhere in my financial plan. Or maybe, once a quarter, I take my family out to a really nice meal. And in order for me to save money for that, well, I have to say no to some things in life. So strictly speaking, from a behavioral finance hacking, financial planning point of view, one of the ways in which we can more easily say no to quote unquote bad spending or dangerous spending in our life is to have some bigger, more exciting yes that we're working toward.
Know what the goals cost. I love that, because we often know what the sweater costs right in front of us that I'm gonna drop some money on, but I have no idea what the goal costs, and whether I'm ahead or behind. I love that. That's great.
Joe, don't you already have enough Cosby sweaters? I mean, just step away.
Cosby? We go to Cosby? Why do we go to Bill Cosby here?
You had a whole bunch of those Cosby sweaters. I've seen you wear them.
Cardigans.
Holy cow. We could just call it a cardigan rather than all the stuff that comes with Bill Cosby references. Wow.
Your Kevin Spacey sweaters are just
Well done. Well done.
Got a whole bunch of those. I think that is a great place to leave it. We will look at this on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. We'll have a link. And for now, though, let's talk about what people can do after this. They clearly, Jesse, want to go to that Better Interest, Better Investing, maybe the Best Interest podcast.
That'd be great. They could go to any of the 3 podcasts, but if they do want to hear me, the Best Interest is the way to find it. What's new? Boy, by the time this airs, there might be a new AMA episode out, which is cool. Joe, you might be joining us soon. So we've got some really good things in the hopper, whether they're live yet or not. Exciting stuff.
Awesome. I like that. Air of mystery, Jesse. Like, what is it? I don't know. Just come see at the Best Interest podcast.
It was like that insurance sales guy. We can't even advertise about it. You're just going to have to wait and see.
The government doesn't want you to know about the Best Interest podcast.
They can't tax me. That's why they never talk about it.
That's great. The best way to know about it is to sign up, OG. Just sign up. OG, what do you got going on this fine last weekend of September?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a great weekend. HOCO going on in the OG house with a senior and a sophomore. So that's cool. HOCO dance tomorrow. Big thing. I wasn't invited, but I understand it to be a big thing. And my brother's in town to visit. It's his birthday today, too. I know it's your bride's birthday today.
It is. So happy birthday to Cheryl today.
But yeah, so we're just kind of hanging out this weekend. Quiet weekend. The kids are going to be gone partying, doing kid stuff. And me and my brother are going to get a little cray-cray.
Oh, boy.
Well, some High Noons will be involved. What's the other brand? High Noon and
Truly.
White Claw.
White Claw. There you go. White Claw. Yeah. White Claws and High Noons. Oh, that's going to be flowing. If they had that stuff on tap, that would be sickening.
God. Let's go back to 1991 and grab the Burleson James off the.
Those were good.
Some box wine.
Little Mad Dog 2020.
Actually, box wine's gotten better. But anyway, Paula, either that or I'm just getting older and I just don't care anymore. Paula, people can pause right now and go to the Ford Anything show. Yes. They flip over to that right after this. What are they going to hear from your melodic tones.
Oh, why? Thank you. The dulcinet. They are going to hear, this is negotiation week on the Afford Anything podcast, because this is the week when we...
I'm not sure if I want to or not then.
Ooh.
No, I'm sorry.
But
Yes, I'm here all week.
this is the week when we are making our course on how to negotiate, and specifically with a focus on how to negotiate for a raise. Although we'll also teach you how to negotiate for a car or a freelance contract or anything like that, but with a super focus on how to get a raise. This is the week when we are opening that course up to a beta tester cohort. So if you want to get in on the ground floor, be part of the founders crew, and get access to it for cheaper than it will ever be, this is the week to do it. So the September 23rd through 27th is the week that it's available, and that is rapidly coming to a close.
Awesome. And that is on the Afford Anything podcast.
Yes.
Where Find Your Podcast are. And you know what? And we'll link to the negotiation course specifically on our show notes page.
I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you, Jesse. And thank you, OG. It's been another great Friday. Doug, wrap this up with a big old bow. What should be on our to-do list today?
Well, since this will be my last time ever doing a wrap up for an episode, I hope I can go out with a bang here.
Oh,
Here's
that was
what's-
hyperbole. Of course you're coming back.
Okay. I don't hear a lot of veracity in the tone of your voice there, Joe.
It sounds like he's about to take Paula's negotiation class now.
He's going to be asking for a raise.
That's right. We'll give him 40% more money. Right.
Can I just do it and get out of here? Here's what's stacked up on our to-do list for today. First, take some advice from Jesse. He had a couple of really kind of mild, totally non-provocational takes today. He didn't drop the mic or anything. Hey, Jesse, how about summarizing one of those for us?
Don't be a stupid gambler, but instead find your deeper yes.
All right. Hey, second, Paula, before we turn off the podcast transmitter for the night, please enlighten us about your thoughts on accountability.
Well, it is easier than ever to blow your money, but it's also easier than ever to make money because you can do both of those from your phone.
So you're saying DraftKings is okay. But the big lesson? Don't try to create your own Tonight Show set in the basement. I mean, you take one bed sheet off the line one time, you wrap it around your waist, and mom thinks we're going all toga party down here. Hey, that's an idea. Who wants to have a toga party? No? All right, your loss. I was going to recreate that scene from Caligula with the grapes.
Oh, no.
No, not those grapes. Relax. Thanks to Jesse Cramer for joining us today. You'll find his Best Interest podcast wherever amazing podcasts are found. We'll also include links in our show notes at debunking.com. Thanks to Paula Pant for hanging out with us today. You'll find her fabulous podcast, Afford Anything, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. And thanks also to OG for joining us. Looking for good financial planning help? Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG for his calendar. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.